In Brazil, police has launched a raid against faction members suspected of organizing violent attacks during the past 3 days in the latest 30 cities in Rio Grande do Norte. France woke up with roadblocks and protests throughout the country after the government decided to force through a controversial pension reform without legislative vote. Cameroon has set a 15th extraordinary session of the Summit of the Head of States of the Economic and Monetary Community of Central African CEMAC. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Brazil, police has launched a raid against faction members suspected of organizing violent attacks during the past 3 days in at least 30 cities in the Rio Grande do Norte. Civil, military, and federal police carried out a parade which began on Friday. On Friday morning, the operation included 30 arrests warrants and 24 search and seizure orders. The target are linking to the Sindicato crime faction. Authorities think that the orders from the attack might have been given by Jose Carlos Pereira de Araujo, age 45, who is currently in prison. Police also consider the transfer out of the state of the faction leader in January might have triggered for the assaults. In Uruguay, the General Director of the International Renewable Energy, Francesco La Camera, announced its first investment forum in Latin America. The Uruguayan government has agreed to hold the event in their country on November the 9th and 10th, 2023. The agency called on Latin American project developers to submit applications to the climate investment platform for them to be considered by investors and financiers at the forum. These submitted projects might also qualify for consideration by the Energy Transition Accelerator Finance Platform, which provides a multi-party climate finance support administered by the IRENA with the aim of advancing the global energy transition in developing economies. The National Electoral Chamber in Argentina announced that the general election for the 2023 to 2027 presidential term will take place on October 22nd. The upcoming general elections will also choose the vice president, 24 senators, over 100 chambers of deputies members, and 42 Southern Common Markers parliamentarians. Before the October elections, mandatory primary elections are set to take place on August the 13th for political parties to defend their running candidates. In Ecuador, this Thursday, legislators presented the official request for impeachment proceeding against the President of Ecuador, Guillermo Lasso, for crimes against public administration for the cases of alleged corruption known as El Gran Padrino, the Great Godfather. The request was addressed to the President of the Assembly, Virgilio Gisela, and the petition was submitted to the Documentary Management Department. It is the first time that a sitting president faces a process of this nature. A total of 58 legislators filed the request, exceeding the constitutional requirement of 46 solicitors to be binding. The impeachment motion must be backed by the 12 legislators. On Friday, a U.S. court expressed a corruption scheme led by the former mayor of Puerto Rico's municipality of Guaynabo, Angel Pérez Otero. The scheme includes agreements with companies without auction, which in turn compensated the mayor with a fixed monthly sum of money that could fluctuate between $5,000 and $7,000. During the process, the lawyers of the former mayor arrested by the FBI tried to establish that the money received was not a bribe. In this regard, businessman Oscar Santamaria, who has already pledged guilty to bring several mayors, will have to explained whether the debt free package of $5,000 each that they delivered to Perez Otero were the impact of the part of bravery mechanism. In the U.S., a new development has been reported, this time in Washington state, as concern from rail safety raising in the country. A train carrying about 10,000 gallons of diesel fuels drilled in Washington state along Padilla Bay in the Switch-managed tribal reservation. It spilled about 5,000 gallons of fuel, which leaked on the land side of the berm. As a result, the state travel and contract cleanup teams are currently working to remove the remaining fuels from 2 locomotive types before righting them. Let's take a very short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our account as teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see us in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. The street of Frenzo woke up on Friday with roadblocks and protests in different parts of the country due to the recent approval without legislative backing of the government controversial pension reform. Protesters blocked a key way around the French capital and intensified strike at the referees in rejection to the government's decision to force through a much resistant reform. President Emmanuel Macron decided on Thursday to use the 49.3 Constitution clause allowing him to pass a law without parliamentary in order to approve a pension reform, which has been cast for massive strikes since its announcement in January this year. In France, demonstrators are responding to a union call to block traffic in the Paris Racing Road, since the French government used a constitutional power to force its pension reform into law.
Our action went extremely well, in a calm and determined manner. It is an action which, of course, is part of the mobilization against the pension reform, which we have been leading for 2 months. It is also a reaction to the blocking of the country decided by the government yesterday, by introducing Article 49.3. We are responding to the government's blockade with a strikers' blockade. It only boosts our resolve. We are still as determined as ever as we were on day one. If this allows more people to join us on strike and in demonstrations next week, great. But we think that, in any case, the movement against the pension reform is well established, very well established in this country. And that resistance won't stop anytime soon.
Opposition parties in France announced that they will present a non-confidence motion against President Emmanuel Macron. National Assembly members are the leaders of the National Rally Party. Marine Le Pen said she will move forward and file a non-confidence motion against the head of state. The development came after the French executive decided to invoke Article 49.3 of the Constitution to circumvent the parliamentary vote on the pension reform. The unpopular proposal has sparked massive strikes and protests nationwide since January. If a motion passes, the government will have to resign and the pension reform bill will be suspended. Meanwhile, French Labor Minister Olivier Dussopt has defended the government's decision to restore the Article 49.3 to push toward the pension reform, despite not reaching consensus at the National Assembly.
I don't think so, because it would be a failure if there was no text, but there is a text. There is a text that was examined, adopted by the Senate, that was adopted and examined by the Joint Committee, which has a majority in the Senate, adopted twice at first reading, when the conclusion had to be adopted. Indeed, there was no majority in the National Assembly because a certain number of members of the Republican group did not attend and did not follow the position that had been decided on by their party. But this is not a failure because there is a text, and if the motion of censure is rejected, the text will be implemented.
Finland's President Sauli Niinisto arrived in Ankara on Friday to receive his Turkish counterpart. The rig on this country's river to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Finland and its neighborhood Sweden have ended decades of military non-alignment and to join NATO in the wake of the conflict in Ukraine. Their applications were accepted at the NATO summit in June, but it was only a statement of intent. The bill still needed to be ratified by all 30 of the alliance members, but limits a progress that got stalled once it reached the turn of Turkey and Hungary. China's foreign minister spokesperson Wang Binbin said that a visit to President Xi Jinping to Russia will be a visit for peace, adding that it will uphold its firm position on the conflict in Ukraine and play a constructive role in promoting peace talks.
As the largest neighbors and major emerging market countries, China and Russia have strong cooperation and ample potential on large scope. China and Russia have consistently depended and expanded practical cooperation in various fields based on the principles of mutual respect, mutual benefit, and win-win result, which is in the fundamental interest of the two countries and their people. This year is the first year of China's new journey of building a socialist modern country in all-around way. We will accelerate high-quality development, expand high-level opening up, and build a new development pattern. I believe this will provide new opportunities for countries around the world, including Russia.
Likewise, the government also criticized the AUKUS cooperation between the U.S., Australia, and the United Kingdom, saying that if these countries insist on having their way, it will ultimately cause the collapse of the international nuclear non-proliferation system.
The US, Britain, and Australia are engaged in an Anglo-Saxon about establishing a so-called trilateral security partnership and promoting cooperation on nuclear submarines and other sophisticated military technologies. This is a typical case of Cold War mentality, and it's like opening a Pandora's box, and it will have serious impacts on regional and global peace and security.
teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through SAR-SAT dial. Fox is one, and you're now Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. The summit of the head of state of the Economic and Monetary Community of Central Africa, CEMAC, opened on Friday its 15th ordinary session in Cameroon. Among the topics discussed in the meeting were the economic consequences and impact of the conflict in Ukraine, along with regional security issues on their economies. Cameroon President Paul Biya, who hosted the meeting, opened the summit before the proceeding went behind closed doors. The six-nation group gathered the Central African Republic, Chad, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, and Republic of the Congo, in addition to Cameroon in a new round of common current, the CFA franc. The meeting, which began at ministerial level on Wednesday, is also set to replace the heads of the number of CEMAC institutions. In Pakistan, the Islamabad High Court on Friday suspended arrest warrants against the former Premier Imran Khan after days of social unrest by his supporters who prevented police from arresting him. The ruling came after hundreds of his supporters held a vigil on Thursday at his home and vowed to stop police from detaining him. Khan said he fears for his life if detained and that authorities want him jailed to prevent him from contesting an election that must be held this October in the current year. The former premier was absent from office by a non-confidence vote last year and has been involved in dozens of legal cases as he campaigns from early elections and the return to office. The The 2023 World Baseball Classic in the knockout stage with Puerto Rico versus Mexico on Friday and the U.S. playing against Venezuela on Saturday. The tournament is now single eliminations back-end culminating with the final on Tuesday, March 21st. Japan and Cuba are already into the semifinals after the wins over Italy and Australia respectively in Tokyo. However, one of the most expected matches this week is the Cuban team or Team Acere against the winner of the game between U.S. and Venezuela. Despite a rough start in the tournament, the magnifique of the talented Cuban national team returned in this year's World Baseball Classic, and while the names on the backs of the jerseys have changed since the country's first appearance in 2006, one thing remains the same: the Caribbean island expects to win the World Baseball Classic. And in the U.S., a large illuminated billboard on a downtown New York building welcomes the Cuban baseball team to the World Baseball Classic semifinal to be held in Miami. According to a video posted on Twitter by one of the promoters of the initiative, the sign reads, "Love and support in the New York City for Cuba's baseball teams at the World Baseball Classic 2023, and we are with Cuba all the way to the finals," followed by the hashtags Teams Acere and World Baseball Classic. The unified Cuban team vested Team Acere as a reference to a popular Cuban-affected land world meaning body or made, with Australia 4-3 in the heart-breaking game to the Tokyo Dome Stadium in the Japanese capital, earning a ticket to the semifinal to be played at Lone Depot Park in Miami as of next Sunday. Cuba will play that night against the winner of Saturday's game between the U.S. and Venezuela. And we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also use us on our socials, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm from the South, I'm Marrero, and thank you for watching.